Tim Grant. I'm a vice president of development with PCI Developments. We're Vancouver-based, really entirely focused in the Metro Vancouver Lower Mainland.
Chad Davidson, VP of Development for Train Construction and Development. We're a Kelowna-based purpose-built rental developer here. We've been in Kelowna for about 8 years now. Our roots are in Edmonton, and we have been traditionally purpose-built wood frame rental.
Cannon Developments, I'm Dale Regier. We do multifamily. We started over 20 years ago in the single family. Always wanted to build rental. Now we're building lots of rental.
My name is Ravi Mann. I'm the Director of Finance and Investment with Isle of Man Property Group, and we do just about anything that has to do with real estate, investments, development, construction, asset management. We manage the entire process from the ground up, so to speak.
I guess in terms of rental housing in the last couple of years, Marine Gateway was 46 units, as I mentioned. That was finished in 2015, and that was, the rental was a relatively small component within a much larger project. And then in terms of purpose-built rental, we finished a project at East Hastings in Castle in 2018. That's 94 units with retail on the ground floor, and that was under the city's Rental 100 program. And then we're getting started with one in Hastings and Boundary this summer. It's 2 towers, but it'll be about 212 units total. And that one's interesting because it's under the city's moderate income rental housing pilot program. The caveat there is that there's some additional density, but 20% of the rental units are secured secured for moderate income households. So
it's not quite done, but there's a project here in Kelowna called Trio, and it's a 3-building, 175 unit project. Something we're really proud of. We actually are in a forward sale agreement on that, and the buyer is right now working through the lease up process, which is going really well. Kelowna is still a great market. So, that project, 3 buildings, kind of that 60 unit range each, on a large parkade that's underneath all of them. Lake views from the top floors, right beside grocery and other major amenities. It's a really great project with some really cool, features like a playground with a dinosaur bone exhibit that kids can dig up in a sand area, and just some really interesting things. We think that project really will appeal well to the broad spectrum of renters here in Kelowna.
Development built the Meridian, and that was completed 2017 or 18, and that was 90 units. That's a full 5-story over single parkade, and then there was a 4-story 98 units called The Point. And that one is, they've both had a heavy focus on amenity, and those are the 2 most recent.
Because a lot of our projects are townhomes, so they're complete, and then they're also not complete because they complete in phases. But we're at the tail end of a 138 townhome project in Willoughby. Right in the heart of Yorkson there, and we should be out of there before the end of the year. And we also recently, just last year, we finished Crescendo, which is a collection of 73 condos in South Surrey, and between those 2 projects, we racked up 6 Georgie Award nominations from the Home Builders Association of Vancouver.
At first, we weren't sure, right? When you're talking about a 175 unit project, for instance, so you're talking about 170 to 180,000 square feet of space. Now, you can safely have a lot of people in that kind of area if it's done with some thought. So, things like immediately closing the site trailer so that we eliminated congregation areas, having multiple wash stations. We brought in a porta potty for every individual trade group, so there's no one sharing the washroom facilities, those sorts of things. We introduced tracking of individuals, so each day they had to record where they were. In the case that somebody did get sick, we could trace to who and where they've been in contact. We're fairly new into this property management game, but right away it was, I think like a lot of companies said, hey, people may not be comfortable visiting us in person. So getting things like forms to be digital and embracing DocuSign for leases and applications and virtual tours and custom FaceTime tours and those kinds of things. That's been a bit of a journey too, in learning and how best to do it. But that's another way where we've been able to, we're Chilliwack pre-leasing and ahead of our targets.
I think at that time we were experiencing the sites dropping down to maybe 65-70% productivity as everyone's being really sure to follow the protocols and get to understand them. I think over time, as everyone's got more comfortable with those protocols, and in our world, generally the sites are quite large, so it's been pretty favorable for people continuing to work safely. So I think that the productivity's increased back up again, and it's been really good to see the contractors following the protocols as carefully as they are and taking them seriously as they are. I mean, I think that's been a really important thing. The province has done a good job at getting the word out there. And then in our world, I mean, property management is a big one, and I think everyone's been spending a lot of time about how they make sure all the buildings are safe, and we're not necessarily as directly involved in that day to day, but that's been a really big focus for managers and owners. And I think again, some good things are in place as the economy slowly starts to reopen a little bit, that people living and working in urban environments are going to be comfortable and safe. And I think that's been a real big focus, and certainly in the rental housing context, I think that's been really important. So I think everybody's learned a lot. I think nobody really knows the answers just yet, but I think you're seeing a lot of people, ourselves included, spending a lot of time on kind of how the world looks, what are kind of some of the new things that we should be doing, both from a operations perspective, but also building features and things like that. So
construction is certainly not going as fast as we like to, and but that's simply a function of public safety. So there's not so much that we can legitimately gripe about that on, but all in all, I'd say the impact on the construction side has been more or less minimal. December was an irregularly positive month as far as absorption is concerned on pre-sales. January did much better. February did even better. March was on track to be even better than call it not the 10-year average, but an even better absorption than from 2 years ago. So, and to put that into context, if you recall, the latter half of March is when the shutdown began. And in the first 2 weeks of March alone, the sales we experienced at our project in Langley, for instance, Luxia, that had more sales than the entire month before it. So we were really on pace to have a quote unquote banner spring, as the stats as the president of the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board described it. But for obvious reasons, April was complete goose egg as far as pre-sales were concerned, and that was simply a function of still places were not open, and there was the marketing teams were still grappling with what does the new normal look like as far as selling pre-sale homes. COVID, as far as a pre-sale market was concerned, was a blip. Not in and of itself, but because so many parties reacted so quickly and so positively, and strong teams really saw the silver lining for what it was, and perhaps virtual showings weren't happening as much as they should this day and age, but you could call COVID a kick in the butt to get everybody in gear to actually start doing that on a more regular basis.
No, I think if anything, it's probably bolstered it. I mean, we've been really encouraged how resilient rental housing's been through the COVID crisis. I think we felt that, like a lot of people, were concerned to see what the rent collections were going to look like. I think by and large, it's generally been accepted that the rental housing rents have been collected perhaps better than expected across the board. And I think that's a real testament to a lot of people living in these communities, that these are their homes, they're taking great pride in them, and I think that's a really important aspect of this whole thing. I think the sense of community that's come out of this with rental housing, and kind of the way they've responded to it and adopted a lot of these protocols, has been really, really encouraging. So I think, and then you take it from an economic perspective, I think in a challenging environment, the opportunity for rental housing and good quality rental housing is really, really important. Obviously, things like contactless access and elevators, stuff like that. I mean, and those are really technology things that I think you will continue to see play out. And I think in a lot of cases, we're starting to come and play. I think the other one just is in terms of what people's demands are in their suites, home office being the obvious one. I think that there was a thought that that might be a big feature going forward. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. I think the other thing is the way we've all gotten used to living. We're kind of, I don't know, we necessarily need that dedicated office the way the old school mentality might have been. So I think those seem to be kind of two really common ones. And then I think the third thing is just like I said, I think it's really good property management, good cleaning, good protocols in terms of how people are moving around the building, using common spaces. I think what's being proven is that with good management, those things can continue to be enjoyed.
If anything, the COVID pandemic has pushed us further into our already building permanent rental project. You know, even non-strata titled properties that are clearly permanent, when something like the township will put on 20-year moratoriums to keep them rental. That's a whole nother conversation down that road.
You know, maybe speaking strictly in a Vancouver context, I think it's one thing that people can generally get behind. You know, I think by and large, everybody has been touched by our challenge for housing in the city of Vancouver. And I think people also, by and large, have an experience, either directly or through family or friends or whatever, about the real challenge about rental housing in our region. It's just, it's just wrong. Like we need it badly, and we need it to be more affordable. And so I think that, you know, if you're, as opposed to being out proposing a 50-story luxury condo tower, I think with rental housing, I think people can generally see a need and understand the need to participate in that. So I think from a Vancouver perspective, that's very much one of the best things. And I think that the second piece is, you know, it's exciting. It's people serving people that are generally living and working in Vancouver. It can be young, it can be older, it can be downsizers, but I think there's very much a value for the community aspect involved with the rental housing, and generally they're, by city planning or otherwise, they're kind of located in areas of the city that have got some vibrancy to them and are kind of, call it a good, vibrant urban lifestyle, which you know, at least in our world, is very well suited to things. Financial perspective, I think, you know, obviously the investment profile, I think from across the board, be it institutional, private, public, with the REITs, you know, guys like ourselves on the private side, it's very much top of mind for anybody's investment objectives right now. And so there's lots of opportunity to be putting together interesting transactions or interesting opportunities. And I think that it is an asset class continuing to perform the way it is, you know, is very positive as well. Rental
buildings, they have to be designed as a rental building, not as a sale building. It's slightly different. You need spaces to work from for showings or for managing paperwork and for working with tenants. But tenants also are looking for amenities. This recent situation, having gyms in their buildings, I can't imagine how much people appreciated that. I've not heard it, but I imagine that's been pretty big to have a gym in your own home.
Rental, especially in the wood frame element out west here, was a bit of it was not stuck in a dated past, but certainly had some negative connotation. And now you're seeing units with quartz counters, stainless appliances, smart devices, communal workspaces for amenity features, and all kinds of really unique items that had been traditionally reserved for more your urban core type developments. So it's really fun. You know, as a developer, you get to be a little more creative and a little, you know, have some really nice looking product in the end. You know, for the last now couple of years, we've been trending that direction. And yeah, we're always thinking of new ways to integrate technology, whether it's through parcel delivery services, and you know, being new construction, it's far easier for us to adopt some of these things into our projects than it is to retrofit them into an existing asset. So, you know, staying on that leading edge of what are residents, what are tenants looking for? What kind of features, and as affordability issues continue to mount, we look at it and say, you know what, someone who would have traditionally been a condo buyer or even a home buyer is now a renter. And they haven't lost those expectations or those hopes of what they can have in their home. And so being able to offer in the rental world the type of condo features that in the past have been reserved for those condo owners is really going to be important.
Because we're still kind of new to purpose-built rentals, so we're not looking to become a thought leader in some of our projects and looking to reinvent the wheel, but we are certainly keeping a close eye on what are the prevailing trends that maybe some of the more household names, so to speak, in rental are, and the institutions and the larger developers are employing in their developments. Like there's of course there's a work what is it like WeWork type of concepts in your, that's part of your amenities, which you know, if they weren't incorporated before, almost certainly they are now. And not only that, but I heard of a development not too long ago, and I forgot who it was that explained this to me, and I can't even credit the project because I have a terrible memory, but the amenity was a podcast studio. So they have and it really isn't much. It's like a small room with some soundproofing and a little on-air light switch just outside the door. But I suppose the gimmick of it kind of really, I think, really intrigues people, and I suppose I'm not surprised. Like, everybody and their mom has a podcast these days, so I suppose it made sense. But I'm definitely just interested to see what kind of amenities people dream up as you know, the renter evolves and the needs evolve, and you know, quite simply, affordability is going to mean that a lot of people can't live in the core or in urban centers where their work is, and what is that going to, how is that going to spill, what does the suburban context of all that look like? So